Thank you very much, moderator, MC. I intend to finish by 5 o'clock sharp or before that. The reason because I don't want to stop you guys from participating in the traffic jam scaling of this place. I understand there's a heavy rain outside. That's what I heard. Somebody text me, says a heavy rain outside. So you can expect traffic jam, or if you are parked downstairs, just be a bit careful. Yeah. Now, welcome to this parallel session 4A. Topic is building bridges, fastening collaboration between industry and academia. We have a panel of experienced and learned speakers today. I shall not introduce them to you because the MC has already announced their names, and you can read their profiles in the summit pack. So in this session, each of them will share their thoughts, experiences, and perhaps recommendation, covering one or all the 4 points. Point number 1, beyond traditional role, how to bridge between the academia as a solely educating body and industry as a solely applying. 2, bridging the cultural gap between the two worlds. 3, building practical platform to facilitate ongoing collaboration. And finally, how do you measure success and impact? So with this, I'd like to hand over to the first panelist, Prof. Zita. On to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wang, my fellow panelists, and you guys who are still here, gracing the occasion as the last session. I think it's the most exciting part, making me feel good, isn't it? All right, I think it's easier when I start the conversation about academia and industry collaboration. And it's a topic that has been discussed as long as I can remember, from the university days till now. I would say that industry-academic collaboration is very important because I think you're talking about bridging the world of work and education. The university has a major role. I would say the university is responsible for knowledge contribution, for new ideas. University is responsible for talent development. And the third mission, university is responsible for community national development. Yeah? And I always try to see that there is actually no major gap between education and work, because the way the programs have been designed is actually to address those two components easily. I used to work with the Malaysian Qualifications Agency, and we always talk about learning outcomes. And learning outcomes should translate into competencies, knowledge, skills, and attitude. Yeah? Industry-academia collaboration is extremely important. If you look at the ecosystem, there are already many national strategies and policies in place encouraging academia, industry collaboration. I think there's a lot. Over the years, the system requires the university to engage with industry in many ways. And therefore, as a quality assurance standard, as a policy requirement, all programs must be able to demonstrate their collaboration with industry. Because at the end of the day, my take on this is that if you're talking about seamless transition, it is often a big question between world of work, world of education, and education. With the ecosystem in place, we still get a lot of criticism why we're not getting the right graduates to fit into the world of work. I always remember, and I like to recall what the former minister said, and about university having a bigger role than just producing technopreneurs. We are producing holistic individuals who has to face, for me personally, the world at large. And to be able to deal with the world at large, you need to have both the right characteristic and also be able to contribute economically. And therefore, with the kind of ecosystem incentive given for academic industry professionals collaboration, we should be looking at how effective it has been. As a university, I think academia industry collaboration is a goal, is a strategic focus for all universities, I would say. They develop differently, different activities. It could be from being involved as IAP, Industry Advisory Panel, or individual industry panel, involved in curriculum. It could be involved in providing training. They could also go into research, joint research, creating centers of excellence, community projects engagement, and networking, sharing of knowledge, and so on. So there are many forms of industry collaboration with universities. And therefore, universities need to have strategic plans in place to be able to carry it out effectively. On the other hand, a collaboration with many industry partners can be problematic. If you want to create partnerships, that's very good. Getting an industry with the same agenda, shared vision, shared goals is often a challenge. And it's a long-term collaboration. So universities will have to deal with different partners in the industry, and that's something that university should be able to handle. But building that shared partnership on a long-term basis requires shared vision, shared agenda, mutual benefit. And how does it work for mutual benefit? Whether it is in the curriculum development to produce talent, it could be in putting in industry standards in place, being assessors, guest lectures, being involved in looking at specific internship with that kind of industry, what kind of feedback that you will get, and if they go into joint research for the bigger companies and bigger universities, it has a long-term impact to turn the research into something of commercial value. So universities actually must have a strong agenda in building this collaboration with different industries because they run different programs. But minimally, the bottom line for all programs, they must have industry advisors to tell them what's going on in the industry. Even to maintain that kind of relation can be a challenge unless you have a very strong commitment, regular interaction for you to be able to do it. So there are many reasons if the collaborations are not working together or difficult to get good partners. I think one is a different agenda. It is difficult to align the agenda, the expectation between what the university wants and what the industry wants. Industry will have short-term solutions, short-term getting talents, but university often have long-term goals and so on. So matching the needs will be a challenge. It could be a different culture, the language barrier. They could speak different language and mean differently. Funding, sharing of resources, and in some institutions, industry collaboration with academia may be slow because it's an inertia, an attitude in the university that, okay, we don't need to collaborate. Or they may have administrative restrictions, constraints for them to move on. So there are many factors. But I would like to just stop here and say the academia and industry collaboration has been long on the ground within all the institutions because it's almost like a mandatory requirement put in place at the national level and at the institutional level because we just cannot not getting the industry on board within our university.
Thank you very much, Prof. Zita. I hear that the way there are a lot of problems in the collaboration, partly trying to align the expectation of the two different pools. There's also a language barrier. The industry people speak a very different language that sometimes the academia don't quite understand. And thirdly, the sharing of resources and the various constraints is within the academia as well. I think the criticism about not getting the right graduates for industry has been going ever since the beginning of time, really. So, but I think you brought out some very good points, and I hope that the rest of the panelists will be able to add on to those points. So with this, Dr. Tay, would you like to continue?
Okay, thank you, HK, and my fellow panelists here. Very good evening. Okay, I would like to draw points that Prof. Zita had mentioned earlier. Yeah, Prof. Zita had mentioned about the ecosystem. We have to create an ecosystem that will be conducive for industry and as well as academia collaboration. Okay, when you look at the industry, they have the perspective that the academia or the institutions are not producing the right graduates that befitting to the industry. Whereas the industry have a certain perception that they want the graduates to be ever ready. The moment they graduate, they are able to adapt into the working environment. Now, let's examine the relationship between the industry as well as academia. From the point of the education provider, I come from institutions which is known for technology and innovation. At the university, we focused a lot on emerging technologies, and where else the other part is that in the industry setting, they require talents. Yeah? Currently, we are talking about Digital Malaysia. A lot of talent required in terms of IT graduates. Now, the main question that we ask from the university is, who are your clients? Yeah, these are the questions that Raja Singham this morning from the BAC had mentioned, that if you look at the relationship between the industry and academia, university clients are not the students, but they are producing graduates for the industry. As such, your products are the student. When you produce student, the graduates are the product, and that they should be fit into the industry needs. Now, having said that, this relationship between industry and academia, in other words, that the university have to listen to the industry in terms of the programs that they have to produce. That means you are producing talent based on market demands, based on trend, what is required by the industry. Okay. Now, in our case, example, I'm from an APU. In our case, that we are not able to wait and see what are the emerging technologies that we have to adapt. Now, in that sense, we actually have to work with the industry. When I'm talking about the industry collaboration, one thing that we have to do from a university that look forward, we have to integrate the industry and academia as one. That involves getting the academic staff from the industry. Now, traditionally, university, how do they recruit academic staff? They look at the qualifications of the candidates, and based on the MQA requirement, they meet the requirements of having a minimum qualification, a master and PhD, and they'll be absorbed into university. Now, in our case example, we are not able to do that because, number one, when you're talking about emerging technology, IoT, cybersecurity, and so on, we have a huge shortage of talents, more so talents that have a PhD qualification in this area. So what we do is that we have to go to the industry and recruit academic staff with experience. And with that, when we bring in the industry into the university, in other words, that they understand what the industry needs, they are able to give real-life example, to the student in the class. Now, when you recruit academic staff with industry experience, of course, what you will suffer is that your PhD ratio will reduce, no doubt. But again, that when we look at the core, who are your client? Who are you producing? The core will be the students. Students are your product. Now, if you focus on teaching and learning, as opposed to traditional university, they focus on number of papers, publication, and so on, that will not actually help in terms of producing graduates that are competent in the market. Now, the way we do is that we have a cultural shift. We put industry as a priority. In other words, if you have academic staff who are from the industry, likelihood that they have a very good networking, they are able to collaborate with the industry. So, including the students' assessment, including the projects that students are doing, Now, earlier, the session before this, we have Prof. Andy. Yeah, Prof. Andy has been with MQA panelists for many years, and he had mentioned that if you look at the MQA write-up and documentation, IAP, Industry Advisory Panels, are part of the MQA processes and so on. But from what I have seen, that many IPTS, Institute Pengajian Tinggi Swasta, they look at it, the IAP, as more of a tick in the box, a checklist that they have to fulfill, without going into the real collaboration of getting the industry to work with the university or institution. Now, if you look at the cultural shift, or we are able to actually emerge between the academia and industry, then you will be able to know what are the requirements of industry. Then you can work closely with industry, not only in terms of industry advisory panel, but from the onset of developing new programs. Like for example, currently we are talking about the AI being the driving forces, IR 4.0, then you are able to incorporate those elements into the syllabus. Now, earlier sessions also, Dr. Masli was saying that micro-credential, ODL, these are all the emerging trend. Yeah? Micro-credential will be the trend. It will be across the institution, not only OUM per se. But again, now, if you look at that trend, I think that trend requires the industry and academia to work together. The other point that I brought up earlier is that the cultural shift. When you talk about cultural shift, not only getting the right people, that means the industry people, you don't recruit people who are fresh with a PhD into the academia, but you get people from the industry. Of course, you can do the balancing act by getting the academic who would like to do R&D track, as well as people who are just purely teaching track, but they are very good in terms of industry collaboration. Now, in that respect, you actually have to build into the KPI, KPI of the academic staff. Traditionally, KPI, they will look at the research, they look at the number of publications, they look at the patterns and so on. But then a non-traditional university, where you emphasize a lot on industry collaboration, then the different KPI will be applicable. That means there's no one size fits all. Now, having said that, industry and academia should be one. Okay, in that sense, if you look at the model of successful institution, like for example MIT in US, what they have done is that the academia are also entrepreneur or technopreneur, and they actually work across the industry. That means they bring in real examples, real projects into the university. Now in Malaysia, what we try to do is that we try to emulate this type of example into our institutions by getting students to work on industry project, problem solving involving the workplace problem for their final year project. Now, in a nutshell, there should be a cultural change, the way we do things, in order to bring a meaningful industry and academia collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tay. I brought some very, very key points. When we talk about the emerging technology, there's a shortage of good teachers or lecturers. So one of the ways is to get them from the industry. And the problem with the getting from industry is that firstly, your PhD ratio will reduce because most of the people from the industry do not have PhD. And secondly is how to balance the cultural shift. And that can be done through various means. But at the end of the day, it's a new way to look at the KPIs for the academia. You also quoted the example of MIT, where academia is also, academic staff are also technopreneurs. And then in the case of Malaysia, you have tried to get students working on workplace problem as a way to merge the two different worlds. Thank you very much. So I'll hand the next to speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Yong, and good afternoon, everyone. So I think both speakers earlier have covered a lot of points that I want to say, so I'll make my comments really short. I think the region's economy and by extension its job market is of course rapidly changing, and it's really important that we know how to prepare graduates for their entry into workforce, but actually more importantly, to ensure they have a good foundation in pursuing their professional ambitions. And on that note, then I feel that there is a balance to be made between ensuring that we are churning out graduates like factory products, that they go into the workforce and are fit for it, but also that they are able to progress in their career and their job, because what we have taught them is not what to do, what to think, but actually how to think, because that means that they will be able to take it a lot further than what the industries expect today and tomorrow. It's more for the future. So I think a balance needs to be made between what an academic institution should be doing, and it's not just about a factory producing graduates for the industry, but also being able to be catalysts for research and innovation, and to actually have graduates who are able to continue to improve and learn because they have that basic foundation. So that adaptability is equally important. So in short, I think in terms of academic industry collaboration, I think a strategic framework to build into this ecosystem is very important. An ecosystem, a strategic framework that looks at how we work with industry on joint research projects, how we work with industry to create partnerships that are quite ingrained. For example, research centers, technology transfer agreements. How do we engage in knowledge exchange activities, industry relevant training programs and mentorship, but also the fact that we need to have academics who know what industries are and academics who are able to create new industries for the future. So getting that kind of balance right means that you want to have academics who are willing to go into the industries to be practitioners for a short while. You also want academics who are keen and able to generate funding for blue sky or basic research, because that's the fundamental of why we have higher education institutions, is on the innovation side and being able to be catalysts for that. And on that note, I'll stop. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You spoke about trying to create the ecosystem, which is how to work with industry, ensuring technology transfer and the knowledge and the training programs. And also, it's always a challenge, I think, finally, is academic staff willing to go into industry, and also at the same time trying to balance sourcing new funds for the work, for the research. So the important thing, as you mentioned, is that the academia should not be seen as a factory producing graduates for the job market. It's not just what to think, but the emphasis should also be on how to think. Because once they have the foundation, they go out to industry and they can think out of the box. So put them in any situation, they know how to think. I think that's a very, very important point to bring forward. Now with this, I would like to pass the session to Dato' Azlin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yong. Good afternoon to everyone. I think a lot has been said, by all the panelists on how important the linkage is to have a linkage and to collaborate between academia and the industry. I'll take it a little bit more specifically by talking about entrepreneurship. Yeah, because sometimes it seems like from morning we've been talking about academia and industry, but and if you read a lot of documents and papers on it, it always speaks about the big companies. The industry meaning technology, and the MNCs, the PLCs, and all that is like those kind of collaborations where the research is done in the university, and then to provide the graduates with the skills required for those kind of big industries. I always find that I've read through few documents before coming to this, forum, and I thought that why is it all talking about that, right? Because for me, coming from the SME, the SME, I feel that we need to focus here, and I will also share with you some of my own experience in working with the universities on how to develop entrepreneurship for the graduates, right? Because entrepreneurship, of course, is very important. I mean, now, right, the government is also stressing on entrepreneurship because jobs are getting lesser and lesser. It's not easy for graduates to find employment, and self-employment or entrepreneurship seems to be the trend these days anyway. Because a lot of our young generation, they like to be innovative, they like to be creative, do their own thing, and in a way which only entrepreneurship can offer and provide that ability to think that way. So when you talk about entrepreneurship, I mean, of course, I think you all know that it's not something which is easily taught in universities. In fact, for us at the NGOs, I've been involved in NGOs for more than 2 decades, right? We've always found that the graduates that come out of universities, right, if they're expected to start their own business, they are not able to do so because they don't know how. They don't know how at all, right? Because there are certain practical things which is required, to start a business, in terms of registering your business, in terms of knowing how to market the products and all that is normally not taught at the universities in a way which can be applied in the real world. So for us, in the NGOs, especially in Peniagawati, where I was a president of before, and currently I'm the chairman of the Federation of Women Entrepreneurs Association. We have been aware of this for a long time, and we want to contribute. We want to contribute, as in for a long time we have been approaching the universities to say that let's do something together. All right, let's do some knowledge sharing forums. Let's do some, maybe you can invite our members, our industry leaders to speak at some of your, to be guest lecturers and all those things. But actually, I would say that my own experience is that it's an uphill struggle. We are there offering basically our services, and if you know how NGOs work, we are not even we're not selling our services. I mean, a lot of times it's like free or very minimal cost. But yet we have members from all industries, members who are successful entrepreneurs who are willing to share and willing to nurture these graduates, so that we can develop entrepreneurship in this country. But it's difficult because when you go to the university, right? I guess it's what has been said before about some language barrier, or I don't know what it is, but it's very difficult. It always comes back to they'll say that one thing is funding, and it doesn't fit into this academic schedule and something or other, and it normally doesn't work at all. Normally what we offer is not taken up, right? And if there are a few instances where it was taken up, but it's like taken up as in we have it for that year, and then it's like we don't have it anymore, right? I mean, it's just like a one-off thing. So I think that's very important to continue doing, of course. But even for us NGOs, it comes to a point where we are like tired. We can't be like going to the universities one by one, right? And offering this, and then it's like it's falling on deaf ears, and we can't do anything about it if the universities do not collaborate. So I think from that experience, and I feel that something must happen from the top, lah. Something must happen from the top, as in, I mean, I'm sure you all know Malaysian style. It has to be a directive from the top, and everybody will follow. Right, I mean, I guess it has to happen that way, because I know that the entrepreneurship, whatever it is, it's a step in the right direction, where entrepreneurship is now a compulsory subject in a semester in the university. That's good, but who is it taught by? Who is it taught by? Right. So that's already a good step, and actually I spoke to Dr. Mazli just now. When Dr. Mazli was minister, right? He actually formed this. It's called Majlis Keusahawanan Pendidikan Tinggi Nasional, which is like a committee supposed to be looking into the designing a curriculum for entrepreneurship in universities. But sadly, he went soon after that, so we didn't have time to explore that, right? But I think we need to work, really closely together. As in, it's not like one NGO going to one university and trying to knock on these doors and trying to figure out something which is, to see whether it works or not. I think maybe for IPTS, maybe NAPE, maybe Dr. Tay, right? NAPE, say, your association, which has got all the private universities, right? And say our NGOs, which is a federation of all the, we can get many entrepreneur associations together. Maybe we can sit down and say that, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? The format is like this. So we're going to try to do in as many private universities as possible to start with. Right? If it's difficult to get to the IPTA, because IPTA are more, they have a lot more bureaucracy there. So if we can come up with a format to say this is this, and I think if we go and ask even for a little bit of funding from the government, maybe it can work. But at least, right, we have the format of something we want to do, which we think is important for the graduates who are starting business after that, right? And that it goes across the board. And then from our end also, when we deal with a federation of a few NGOs, we can get a lot more people together. A lot more people are involved. It's not like one NGO, one university. So maybe we can work on that. And just a few more points, Mr. Yong. This structured approach, I think is very, very important. We have this structured approach if we are going to start executing and implementing something rather than talking about this for a long time but nothing comes out of it. So if you can do that, and also maybe universities need to look at the, just now I think Ms. Jasril said something about teaching for the academics to learn, the industry's way of doing things, right? Actually, there have been some universities which have asked us to teach their training staff. And I think that's a good, there's a good way of looking at it. That means because instead of, we go in, say for entrepreneurship, we go in and teach the students. Like for me, I'm a lawyer by profession. They've asked me to teach the teaching staff, all right, how to, the legal aspects of running a business in a more practical manner. And I think that's good. That's good because I don't see the students every day. They do. All right. So if you can teach the training staff and they know how to teach the students in that business perspective, that'd be good. Right? Because I think that's one of the problems, because the people teaching now entrepreneurship in the universities, right, they are not entrepreneurs. So they don't know what it's like out there. So I think that's, I'll end on that point, Mr. Yong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aslin. It reminds me when I was younger, the lecturer told me that if you are good enough, you go out and do it. If you're not good, you just go and teach. And if you're not good enough to do it and you cannot teach, you become a consultant. Yeah, I think what you brought to this panel discussion is something really practical. The industry has been trying to offer the universities, look, let's do some knowledge sharing. And the universities are quite reluctant because of various factors. And one of the factors, they didn't get a memo from above. So you need to get a memo. So maybe it's a lot easier to work with the IPTS than the IPTAs. So Dr. Tay is here, so he's able to change the KPIs for the lecturers. So I think it's an extremely valid point. And I'm surprised that it hasn't been brought up before. I think the previous education minister did try to push something, but he didn't have enough runway to do things. But it's an extremely valid point, and I'm sure when we open the discussion a bit more, I think the other panelists will want to chip in. So it's very, very, very crucial that you mention all this. Thank you very much. So I'll hand this to Howie Chang. Share your thoughts and maybe some recommendation and throw in some things that you want the both world to consider.
Thanks, Mr. Yong. And thanks to my fellow panelists. Yeah, so my name is Howie. So basically, I'm based in Georgetown, Penang. We are Forward College, and echoing Dato, talking about entrepreneurial. I see myself as an entrepreneurial educator, and I started Forward College with the very main intention of working with the industry, coming from the industry myself. And I figured that, it is the only way that we can quite change things on the ground if you start from scratch. Now, it is a huge undertaking in a way that, I don't own I'm not a property developer. I am, not in very high places. And therefore, creating a college from scratch is not a walk in the park. But I'm thankful that, I'm able to gather around a group of industry captains who feel very strongly about the subject that we are talking about today, which is academia and, collaboration with the industry. And we started Forward College that way. And for us, I think when we talk about this subject, I think, I'm in the opinion, and this is my opinion, more often than not, tertiary education can be overly academized. Now, what I mean by that is that if you look at the key performance indicators of, by and large, majority of education institutions today, it's very different than what the industry kind of really look at. And in the previous panels, topic of rankings has been touched. By and large, a lot of universities are incentivized by that. A lot of the grants and the fundings comes from research, which is great, and I think there's a place for that. But I think for us, what we are really passionate about is to really nurture and build a sustainable tech talent pipeline for the industry. And I envision that colleges and universities should be as focused as they can. Nowadays, when we look at majority of the universities out there, they have multiple schools, which is great. But I'm always in the opinion that those schools needs to be as independent as possible, because when you are part of a large organization, it is very difficult for you to be creative. And so when we started Forward College, we thought that we should only be focusing on one thing. So we see ourselves as a college of technology and future skills, specifically in software engineering. And we talk a lot also about working with the industry. For us, I think we need to kind of really shift the entire KPI around. So for us at Forward College, our KPI is that we track the starting salary of our students, we track their salary progression, and we track where they are 2 years, 3 years down the road. So for us, we work with, as of today, we work with 32 hiring partners. Upon graduation, with just 2 years, so we specifically focus on just diploma, and we partner with universities for a pathway to a degree. But by and large, 99% of our graduates do not further to their degree, or they postpone it. Their starting salary is 3.2 after 2 years, right after SPM. And we help companies to kind of really seek out students that have the right aptitude. So for us, we are a little bit more aligned with, our accreditation comes from the Ministry of Human Resource, and we have the privilege to really kind of think intentionally, and they provide us with a little bit more flexibility. And so for our students, in terms of our admission and intake, for SPM, you do not need a credit, but you must pass our aptitude test. So what this kind of really means is that you might be getting 10 A's, and we have cases like that. You might be very good academically, but that does not necessarily mean that you can do the task or the work that's before you. It's a very different thing altogether. You need to have the right aptitude. And so our admission is based on that. And we take in students, we train them, and we guarantees them a job. If not, we return them their money back. And this is a decision that we make because, again, we want to be serious in which of where we place our KPI. And we serve, in a way, our students and the industry. And that's how we roll. And so, yeah, so I guess my take here is that we need to rethink how we do education. I envision really that schools and colleges should be as focused as possible. For example, like in business, why do they study business? Right? Is it that they want to be an entrepreneur? If that is the case, then it should be the school of business in that case should really work very closely and have their KPIs put in place, put in the right place, so that it can be tracked properly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. I think the key takeaway for me is that all the IPTAs and IPTA must guarantee their graduates a job or they get their fees back. I think that's pretty impressive, really. It's pretty good. And it's really strange. I was previously in an engineering company, and we have this MLVK courses for people, and we pay them to come and train for 2 years. If they get to tahap 3, whatever, or 4, 5, and we guarantee them, we're talking about more than 10 years ago, we guarantee them 1,600 starting salary. And then thereafter, the salary goes up very fast. But we couldn't get students. They wanted to do something else. They want to go to university. Well, a lot of them couldn't get to university anyway. But they are different. Maybe the mindset has changed now. And, I was surprised to hear this morning that many of the students don't want to go to university now. They want to do something else. Grab food or something like that. But it's very interesting to note, and you have brought up some very, very key points. And I think it's about building and developing a sustainable pipeline. It's just not a flash in the pan, you just do it, and then for 3 years, and after that, it dies a death. So I think this is a very, very key point. Now, I'd like to open up this discussion between the panelists first. If you got anything else to chip in, add in to what the other panelists has spoken, before I open the session to the floor for Q&A.
Thanks so much. It was really enlightening. And from my point of view, I think you brought up a very, very important point, which is the fact that colleges, institutions, vocational schools, they all need to work within one ecosystem. And I think in many countries, UK included, there was a time when you tried to over-popularize universities and try to get everyone into universities and to be degree holder. I don't think that's the right approach. I think there are different roles for colleges and for vocational and for universities to play within an ecosystem in order to progress the society. So I think that's a really important point, especially for government and policy makers when they're thinking about how to develop their higher education or tertiary system. They should ensure that there are specific and much more focused position for each of the sector. Thanks.
I like to echo what you said just now. I think there are many institutions that provides training and provides education. Perhaps there's a difference there, but I do not see these two things as completely opposite to each other, because skills is always knowledge in action. The foundation of skills are always knowledge. Two, I think all institutions provide I think personal and professional development, that holistic requirement of not just the hard skills, but also the soft skills is very much important. And moving forward, I think if you look at the skill set required, as mentioned by the World Economic Forum, creativity is highly in demand, because you should be using AI for your creativity, not the other way around. Yeah? Self-efficacy skills is very important, things like leadership, self-management, personal mind growth, mental growth, managerial skills, business acumen, and of course technology literacy is becoming extremely important. There's always a combination, I think, in whatever we are doing to make sure that they are actually ready, agile for the fast-changing world of work outside there. It's almost impossible to say everybody is foolproof, but I think we need to equip them with the ability to grow, adapt, agile with all the changes. So I think we are all on the same line, but doing different things, and I think their roles are, all of them is equally important. I would think entrepreneurship kind of culminates all the skills required for people to move on. My comment.
Okay, I'd just like to add, and I agree actually to the points now about there's various institutions which at the end of the day, what's important is the continuous learning, the personal growth, and all that for our generation, for our new generation. But the thing is, I think the what's difficult is changing that mindset, and this thing about universities, because I'm sure parents. I mean, a lot of parents still think that their children should go to universities. If you talk to them about micro-credentials and all these other things, TVET and all that thing, I don't know whether they will accept that is at the same level. I think it will take a long time. In fact, I remember when I was in England studying, right? At that time, there was only 52 universities or something like that. This was in the 80s, right? The rest were polytechnics. So why did they change all those polytechnics to universities? You remember, maybe Jazreel will know because she's in the British Council, right? Suddenly, right, it was like all those polytechnics was like their status became universities, upgraded, and we had 100 something or whatever. Why? All right, what was the difference? Because people didn't want to go to polytechnic then, they couldn't get the scholarship, they couldn't get anything if they went to those polytechnics. But after those polytechnics became universities, so it's like the status is changed. So I think that's the most difficult thing about changing that mindset about about why a person has to go to university and not anywhere else, or what they're gonna, or is that considered superior? All right, I mean it's like first class learning in universities. I think that has to change, all right, before we can go any further, because otherwise it's always going to be like that. If your child goes and does TVET, that means it must be like a lower level to university. So if we're going to continue thinking like that, then we're not going to go so far. Yeah.
Can I just make a slight correction? Yeah. As far, I mean, I used to work with MQA. So if you're a bachelor from applied university, or you come from a public university, a bachelor is recognized equally. So a diploma from a polytechnic is the same as a diploma if it's accredited at the private sector. So I understand that, but people will think that it's a cultural thing. It's a paramount. I think parents expect children to come from a university. I think it's a culture issue, but I must say children today are quite versatile. I will encourage my students to go beyond their bachelor, go and pick up new certification, new professional skills, because the world outside there requires you to be more versatile, adaptable, and you must chart your own personal growth. You must be a lifelong learner. It doesn't stop at the bachelor. This is how we actually teach them how to learn, how to grow actually at the university.
I would totally agree. However, I think it will. I think there is a perception issue here that, of course, society and all we must challenge, and actually government plays a role in terms of changing those perceptions, and industry plays a role in terms of how they accept the different qualifications. But I also feel that it's evolving, and younger people nowadays have a very, very different view of what they think they want, and I do not think that most of them would consider a university degree as prestigious as when we were younger. I think there is a change, and it is changing. To be honest, if I were born today, I think I will go and get a plumbing license, because it's really expensive to pay a plumber nowadays. And so the truth is actually, I think it's changing, and society is changing, accepting that it's actually a very different world now, and our younger generations do not really think that they definitely need to go to one university to get that degree.
Yeah, I think that's the trend. I think my younger days, everybody is expected to go to university. Nobody does TVET. I remember 20 years ago, I was the first one to organize a TVET conference in Malaysia. And subsequent next 3 years, we brought in people from Germany to show them the German method, Japan, Taiwan, UK as well. And at that time, there were 7 ministries involved in TVET. Today, I was told over lunch that there's 12 ministries involved in TVET. I remember in the panel discussion, we have somebody from industry and somebody from the institution and from the ministry. And the guy from the industry said, we are not getting enough people, trained people for our industry. And then the person from the ministry said, look, every year I sign a few million ringgit check for this training program. Then the industry guy said, yes, you've been training people that we cannot use at all. So fast forward 20 years later, I think that some of the issues haven't been ironed out. So it's back to the same old story again. Yeah. Can I open the session to the floor if any of you have questions? It has to be a burning question. No point going back now because it's jam. I did an engineering degree. I did a sandwich program in the UK. So studied 2 years, first 2 years, and then third year I went to industry to work for 1 whole year, and then final year I went back to study my final year. So it was a very, very good program because you spend 1 year out in industry. The first 2 years in the university, you thought you knew everything as an engineer. You went out to the industry, it's totally different. And then when you come back and do a final year, it was very invigorating. So you begin to learn the practical aspect, expecting that when you graduate, you can hit the ground running. And I also did my chartered accountancy in the UK. You know how it works in UK chartered accountancy? You serve your prison term. You sign a contract with, I signed a contract with Deloitte at that time. 3-year prison term. So they make you work 9 to 5. In UK, nobody works overtime. They work 9 to 5. Then in the evening, you go home and study 3 hours. So you actually apply it, practical, very practical. Compared to ACCA at that time, ACCA, you could go and study full-time, and then you go out and work in the industry, whereas ICAW, you had to work and study at the same time. But now ICAW has changed. You can study full-time now. So that lost its sting a little bit. So it's unfortunate, really.
You know, one of the things that comes to my mind every time when you want to have a seamless transition, if you're in a medical school, you finish your 5 years, you pass your professional exam, you have to do 2 years of housemanship before you are considered fully qualified to practice. That's really throwing them in the deep blue sea to do what they have to do, to practice what they have learned. Same thing with the professional programs overall. Our internship is questionable, to be honest with you, how effective internships are. But industrial training, again, is different. Some university I know in US, they do 6 months in campus, the theoretical part. The next 6 months, they actually sign up with a company outside there, and students spend 6 months there. We also have the 2U, 2I concept. You spend 2 years in the university, 1 or 2 years in the industry. That's not an easy program to run because you need to have the industry understanding what you're trying to do, what they have to do. The shared responsibility is often somewhere along the line got not translated well by the industry. Again, if that is workable, that's actually very good. You throw them right into the working sector to say, okay, are you ready to do and practice what you have learned? So there are many forms of trying to improve the students' quality when you work with a professional or the industry, but as I said, the collaboration must be very intense. The collaboration must be very deep. They must understand each other's needs and able to share the responsibility of teaching and training the student. And as a university, I find that a challenge because when I wanted to introduce to you to I, it was a lot of requirements in place. But I hope we can do a lot more work-based learning, to you to I, better internship, better industrial training, so that they're better prepared to move seamlessly into the industry.
Yeah, thanks, Prof. Zita. I just wanted to also add on that in regards to internship. So we had the opportunity to also rethink how we want to do internship. The traditional way of doing internship is that you will study and then you will go for internship for 3 months or 6 months before you are able to apply. And I'm in the opinion that perhaps that's a little too long. So what we did is that from their first year, second semester onwards, every Friday, because they come into class every 5 days a week, and they will program from 9 to 3 every day, except for Friday. So Friday, in which that is the day whereby we will link them up with an industry player, and the industry, our hiring partners will be able to get them to work on stuff. So it comes hand in hand as well, and for a lot of them, the transition becomes very seamless because they would have known this company. They can switch companies, but a lot of them, if they were to stick with this one company, they would have worked every Friday for this company, and the transition will be seamless in the sense that more often than not, this company will just continue hire them, and yeah. So I that's something that also needs a little bit of a rethink in a sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just add a little bit? I'm just about internship and all that. Like for us, for lawyers, I mean, we have also the 9 months chambering period that we have to go through. But sometimes the problem is also that when you go for the internship, say for just now how we said, you go into certain company, or like say I start my chambering in a criminal law firm, but then I find out 9 months later that that's not what I want to do. Because I didn't know. I mean, I don't know anything, the difference between any of these, different kinds of law. So I mean, I've gone into a criminal law firm, decided after 9 months, that's not me. And then I would have come out, being called to the bar and not knowing anything about anything. So I think I think that if we can structure internship in a certain manner, because it's not compulsory for a lot of professions, right? Except legal, maybe medical, accounting. I'm not sure, Mr. Yong, is it?
Can I make a correction? I think most universities offer internship for all their programs.
Yes, that's right. I know.
But perhaps a different from the professional training that you get when you go for chambering or housemanship and things like that.
Yeah, but maybe what I'm saying is that maybe we can share across the board, right? The kind of internship, because I also know that internship means different thing for different universities, different courses and all that. So maybe it can be like streamlined a little bit so that it can be coordinated better and standardized. Yeah,
definitely, it has to be coordinated better. Otherwise, it's a waste of 3 months, 6 months already. I remember companies calling me up, HK, we got some students. Can you take them as intern? I don't really need interns. I've already got an office clerk doing photocopying. Sure enough, and eventually I just brought them in, and some of them got attitude problem. I'm only here to serve my tick the box for 3 months, and then off I go back to university. Not willing to learn. So I think it's got to be better coordinated, and that can only happen if you get a memo from the top. We come back to the memo from the top. So it's a bit difficult. I would like to close the session now, if there are no questions from the floor. And in closing, I would like each of the panelists to come up with one strong recommendation, burning recommendation.
To make things work, I think there must be almost equal partnership, because the industry and university must find there is a mutual benefiting relationship so they can work out the details. to make it more efficient and more effective, so that the students will become work ready.
Okay, earlier we talked about internship for students, but then the question is how about for the academic staff? Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that recently in my organization, we came out with a policy. When we look at the IPTA, they have a sabbatical, yeah? But in IPTS, this is something that is alien, is no-no. This sabbatical, we call it like a time for the academic staff to apply to work in the industry 6 months to 9 months without severing their employment contract, so that when they come back, they got an insight. For example, people who are teaching in the engineering program, they are, of course, they're encouraged to get their IR or professional engineering qualification to be registered as a professional engineer. So we encourage them to go out to work, and then after coming back, they will continue serving the institution. So the way is that it's not a one-way internship for students, but academic staff should also be given opportunity to work in the industry.
Pardon my intrusion. We have one question from the floor.
Sorry, hi. Yeah. So my name's Tamara. I run an education consultancy which helps basically high schoolers get into top universities like Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge. So I just wanted to also just give a bit of my 2 cents. So Malaysia, we want to be a globally competitive workforce. It'd be great if, global MNCs look to us as a talent hub. I think that's the ultimate in terms of like industry expertise and talent, and that's what we're trying to nurture here through all our higher education. When I look on LinkedIn, the top 10 kind of skills that employers look for involve things like planning and research skills, collaboration skills, leadership and management skills, but they're also looking for work experience. And what I see, because we need to be globally competitive, is we compare what others do. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And what US do is, in the 4th year research, normally a company comes in and funds the research, that company. So I have had that personal experience because I was at MIT in my 4th year, and my research was funded by Smith & Nephew. So I could put Smith & Nephew on my CV. For the UK, what happens is they offer courses, bachelor courses, which are 4 years, of which 1 year the student goes for industry placement. And that is also considered work experience. Some, which are 3 years without the placement, actually help the student find a summer internship. I also know that the theme of this whole conference is technology. And what I want to ask is if any of you have considered remote internships, because I feel that technology has allowed that for Malaysians. In other words, I partner a company which offers remote internships, and what they do is within, like say, the startups based in Silicon Valley or some in London, they have the capacity to be able to absorb 1 or 2 interns. And surprisingly, and actually nowadays, you can learn career skills over the internet. You can be trained up via remote, and then you don't have to pay for that expensive plane ticket over. And also, yeah, you get a global name on your CV. And that, to me, is what makes a lot of us potentially more globally competitive compared to, say, if it was India or China. So I want to ask any of the panelists, if they would like to answer this, is remote internships, have you ever considered it? Thank you.
I think in the industry that I serve, software engineering, most definitely. I think we do have our students work with startups in the region. So yes, but in terms of other industries, I can't quite say that. But when it comes to technology, software engineering, that is the culture. And increasingly so, companies are looking for remote workers. There are dedicated sites looking specifically, not just for internships, but also full-time employees. And I think it makes great sense. And we do have quite a number of companies in Singapore who are looking for remote interns as well as full-timers as well. But of course, all within the software engineering tech startups industry.
So my recommendation is that I think that if you want to make this work, institutions got to invest in resources. It should not fall on academics to go and look for industry partners and then put a training program for interns aside. That you should have the right resources who will engage with industry, who will understand what industry needs, and who will be able to strategically align those partnerships so that it works for ultimately for the students and for your academics as well.
I think the collaboration is definitely a win-win situation for both parties. And I look forward, Dr. Teh, right, if NAPE and the NGOs can work together, let's start this campaign going. There's something, that in Malaysia is like that. You have to see something visible, and then maybe somebody from the top will give the memo, all right? so we hope that. So if we can push for something and make it visible, that'd be a start, and it'd be something nice from this forum, inshallah.
Yeah, I think depending on, the people that you serve or the industry that you serve, I think it's very crucial for us to have a startup mentality and mindset to rethink how we are doing things. And I think for us, it's as simple as really putting our key performance indicators at the right place, right? I think if you start, for us, it would be guaranteeing students a job at a certain salary range. I think if that is your KPI, I think the rest will sort of fall in place. You will find every opportunity to work with the industry. You will, meet them because they are the one that will pay and hire your students. You have to meet them. You have to build the right relationships with them. You have to make sure that every internship companies that come in, it's relevant. That they don't go and, photocopy or bancho copy or things like that. Because, again, at the end of the day, your end in mind is to find them a fulfilling and a great start to their career. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, panelists. We just finished almost right on the dot. And next year, we expect Dr. Teh and Dato' Azlin to... Oh, hang on. Okay. To report back to the summit next year, your collaboration and the memo that you're going to send down. Yes.
Anyway, I'm Rogaya from UCSI. I'm the Dean of Faculty of Social Science and Liberal Arts. I just wanted to say that we do have internship for all students, year 1, year 2, and year 3. They spend 3 to 4 months each year at workplace. So I welcome Dato's suggestion to, collaborate for our students. We have MESCOM, psychology, education, and English. Yeah.
Can I also add on to that can you come up with a nice internship program that you don't get the person to do photocopying and all that, a waste of time talking by the side?
Of course. We do have clinical, we do have internship coordinators who follows up on the employer side and get the reports and all that lah. And then I'm also from UKM actually. I retired from UKM. In UKM, all students throughout UKM does one course for entrepreneurship at year 1. So because I think UKM is going for commercialization of products and all that, so they want their graduates to be able to at least to have a working knowledge of entrepreneurship. It's compulsory. Okay. Yes. Yes, it's compulsory.
That one of the courses that guarantees you money upon graduation, otherwise you get the fees back.
So anyway, I'm sure, universities like that, they welcome, Datuk was saying that you could give the legal side of it. Bureaucracy. Okay, so that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you all join me to thank the panelists?